On this episode of the StarkX Energy Edge podcast, we're talking about building controls, monitoring, and optimization, what to look for, why it matters, and an efficient way to do it. Now, here are your hosts, Steve Smith and Jill Spillman.
Hello and welcome to the StarkX Energy Ed podcast. I'm your host, Steve Smith.
I'm also your host, Jill Spillman.
And today we're talking with our guests, Cliff Steffen and Andy Whitert, on the importance of analytics and how optimization isn't a one-time setup, but rather an ongoing process of continuous improvement of collecting system data, understanding the data, and then implementing strategies and actions to gain energy efficiency, reduce energy costs, and ultimately run smoother operations. But I think first, we have to understand the difference between analytics and building management. So Cliff, I'm going to start with you. What's the difference between building analytics and building management systems?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Building management systems, traditionally, our control systems that we deploy, are made to operate and control buildings, right? They're not really good at data acquisition and telling a story historically, right? A lot of times when people use their building control systems, they're looking to see if their space temperatures are within tolerance. They use them to adjust the temp, right? They use it to change the schedules. But other than that, they don't really get a whole lot of value out of the whole thing, right? They don't really see what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, and a lot of times what happens behind the scenes is you could have, controls software that's a little bit off, or you could have things that just aren't quite right, but the controls will make up that difference, right? It'll keep the space satisfied, keep people happy, but we're wasting a lot of energy, in the meantime. The analytics gives us the ability to take a lot of data out of these platforms, and it's not just the BMS platforms, but it's our energy platforms, our power monitoring expert platforms, our utility bill monitoring platforms. But it gives us that ability to take all that data in, normalize it, and really tell the story about what's going on with the controls and how they work, right? Gives us the ability to go back, make adjustments, save energy, and report out.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a bunch of different systems. You said power monitoring, you mentioned building controls. Why does that systems integration matter?
There's a lot of different sources of data, right? So your building automation and control systems typically are all the sensors and stuff that are inside the building. Our utility bill management system gives us abilities from the utilities, right? So rate structures, cost of energy, that kind of stuff. We can bring it in and normalize it to what's going on. We have power monitoring expert that tells us real time what the energy usage is in the building over the top of building automation and controls. So by bringing all that together, and it really tells a complete story about what's happening with the facility.
Cliff, thanks for clarifying the difference between analytics and building management systems. That makes a lot of sense, particularly the work you're doing at StarkTech. What are we doing in the world of analytics?
Sure, thanks for asking. Starting back probably about 15 years ago, we saw the need for this, right? We saw coming up through just all we have is BMS systems. And it was always hard to understand what was going on in the building when we weren't there, right? If it wasn't something that was happening at a point in time, it was hard to capture that. So we kind of early adopters back in 2012, 2013, we got into this data overlay and analytics platform work, right? That carried us into some pretty large customers that are nationwide customers, 1,400 building deployments, some of the biggest data analytics style databases up in Azure in the world right now. But it taught us a lot, right? It taught us about how to crunch that data, get the value out of the data, how to build optimization projects, how standards are so important in the industry, right? So going back 3-4 years ago, we made a decision to start at StarkTech to take what we've learned with these big national accounts and bring it back into our install base, right? So we, at the time, decided to build our own platform, Optelligent, right? It's a data analytics and overlay platform that's able to take data from all sorts of data sources, right? You can scrub stuff off the internet. You can get stuff through MQTT, from your building automation and control systems, from our power management systems. And we run it up into an Azure cloud where we have a team that was developed over time on these big national accounts of very bright, smart engineers. We have PhDs on staff. We got aeronautical engineers, but just really good engineering knowledge that goes into taking this data and having some good outputs from it, right? So things we're doing today, we are proactively serving information to our service department So they can go out there with the knowledge of what's wrong in the building before they even get there, which is a huge time saver for both us and the customer. Optimization projects, to Andy's point, where we can tee up programs that are involves complex installations of equipment and controls to really help facilitate energy savings.
I would layer in there too, listen up, building owners. This is your ability to become proactive in your buildings, in your campuses, in your portfolio versus reactive. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we do, a lot of what you're challenged with on a daily basis is reactive. You're firefighting, you're keeping your processes, you're keeping your schools open. The overlay and the understanding, the expertise of the analytics helps you become more proactive in that endeavor. So when you really think about it holistically, you're really taking a defensive mindset to more of an offensive mindset on how you approach and optimize your building.
So I think just on a point to that, what's really neat about our customer base and those that are out there, they all have the systems in place. They just need the overlay on top of it to then really be able to take the actions that are needed to optimize their buildings in a proactive way, to your point, not reactive, but really preventative, really what's the next stage? How do I future-proof this building to stay optimized at all times?
Well, once Optelligence connected to the building too, it's 24-hour continuous commissioning. Think of it as like a virtual technician that's always watching over your building and keeping it on track, right? When something starts to deviate, and we know about it much quicker than we've had in the past. And to Andy's point, it really does put you on the offensive foot, right? We know what's going on prior to somebody getting a phone call saying I'm cold or something's broke, right? And that's where the industry's going.
So now that we have a better understanding of analytics, management systems, and the importance of that, Andy, when you think about all the challenges facing the market today, building owners, what are some of the things and how does it relate to this topic?
Well, you think, just to pull it back up to 30,000 foot view, you think of the complexity you have in your own home of trying to keep everything connected together, running and working. And then you magnify that times 10 or 100 times when you go into a commercial environment, a campus, an industrial facility, and you're laying in the complexities that they have in those facilities. That alone in itself is a difficult challenge. You layer on the fact that now there's an increased demand for improving your lowering your OpEx spend, improving your energy efficiency. Depending on what state you're involved in, there's heavy initiatives to also reduce your carbon. And along with that, on top of that, you're trying to electrify your facilities. So when you talk about the challenges that building owners are having today, and it spans across all aspects of our business, K through 12, industrial, healthcare, and all commercial buildings, there's this ever-present challenge that's continuing to become more prevalent, that the buildings are getting smarter, just like your home is getting smarter. The challenges on making that system stay up and operate effectively, as Cliff was talking about earlier, making sure they're optimized. And then these additional challenges that are now getting layered on top. You take a K through 12 school, cooling, electrification, reducing your carbon load and becoming more energy efficient. And depending on what state you might be in, also electrifying your bus fleet. This data, this information, and the complexity of how it all flows together and what you can do with it is putting a heavier emphasis on the need for a solution like ours in Optelligent data analytics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we talk a lot about these challenges. We have a multitude of different customers. You have K through 12s, hospitals, manufacturers. They all have different challenges. But what was something that we did, StarkTech did, to address these challenges that our customers were facing?
Let's start with K to 12, right? So K to 12, we're going through one right now, right? It's a good example. It's cold out. In Buffalo, it's 14 degrees right now. Some of the challenges they're having is trying to keep the buildings warm. They got antiquated equipment. They're running occupied 24/7. And there's issues. It goes back to that whole deal where the space is fine. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong. We're not freezing coils, but we're also, again, using a massive amount of energy to do this, right? Looking through the utility bills in the last 3 months, the delivery charge has doubled, right? So we went from 18 cents to 30 cents. This is substantial. The disconnect between the front office who pays the bills and the guys that are in the back office just turning the schedule on and running the building 24/7. There's a disconnect there. And this is where I think Optelligent will help bridge that gap. But it's a big deal when somebody just adjusts the schedule like that right now, right? So now as we go through it, we're finding out all the pain points and things that are causing that guy to turn that schedule, to 24/7 type occupied. And we're able to pinpoint those really quickly, get our service dispatch out there to fix those problems and get these buildings so they don't have to run that way anymore. And I think it's a big win right there.
I would say, it's a great point in regards to utility rates going up. Ultimately, what happens is the rate goes up. The accounting financial side, the CFO goes to the facilities manager and says, you need to reduce your OpEx spend by 5 or 10%.
Yeah.
Where do you start from there? What's the roadmap? How do you start to systematically attack how that happens without compromising what you're trying to do in the space? Well, having access to that data and understanding the trends and where you might be able to turn small dials to make big changes, that's really ultimately where this all starts and stems from. Everyone would love to be able to do big capital projects and replace all equipment with new energy efficient equipment and put in all brand new control systems. But in all practicality, this is a slow progression, and having the analytics and the data be able to make small dial turns to start putting you on that path and keeping you in line with what ultimately the company needs. A lot of large corporations are setting mandates for an energy reduction spend year over year. Some are 5%, some are 10%, some are even more aggressive. You really need to start with that roadmap, and having the data helps you with that roadmap.
Yeah, along with that, it's not just dial turn too. We're able to scope optimization projects. So if we see things going through the data that are systemic, right? We see where there's a program to be done, equipment needs to be replaced. We can start to build up a catalog of optimization projects that we can then filter out to the rest of the company, and then we have solutions that are available. So when those questions do come up or there is capital available, we have solutions and plans in place.
That's a great point. That's the exciting part about being a part of a data-driven company, is when you have the data and you have the expertise to understand and analyze it, all of a sudden you become very important to your best customers. So, to simplify it the best, that's really the critical nature behind the data and the ability to analyze it and give it back to them in something they understand and then can take action on, like some of those big measures.
Yeah.
It's worth its weight in gold.
So we talk about all these challenges and things like that. I'm sure, just like we've experienced in our own business and other businesses, AI is driving a lot of conversations. How do you integrate it? How do you use it to gain efficiencies? So what are some of the things that we're playing with, and how are we using it for our customers?
Yeah, great question. The world's changed so much in the last 6 months, right? So it's awesome that we have these systems, we put things in place. We were kind of ahead of the game there. But what was happening is we got this tidal wave of data coming in, and we have people that are really good engineers and PhDs and analysts, right, that are going to take this data and create it into useful reports and smash it all together. What AI enables to do is to filter through that data at a rate that is unbelievable, right? We get to a result much quicker. So I don't have the analysts out there trying to find the data and pull the data out of the platforms. They have results that are coming in from the AI, and then they spend their time kind of going through those reports and making sure they're what they need to be, and spending their time doing proper engineering work, right? So it's just on the report generation side, just think about writing a term paper for like an optimization project. It took a lot of time, right? And scale was kind of an issue prior to AI. Now we don't, we can use AI to write the term paper. So it's a game changer on our ability to deploy at scale.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was trying to think about how the AI interaction with the human engineering interaction works together. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that the AI allows you to comb through the volumes of data more quickly, provide meaningful insights, but it still requires that solutions-driven human problem solving to work through and to look for the biggest bang for the buck. Or is
100%.
that how it works?
Exactly. Right. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise that can exist when you walk through a facility, things that intuitively have a great solution and an ability to pay back and make sense. And there's a lot of things that might seem good, but ultimately when you analyze the data, they're not good. So the ability to comb through, let's say 80% of that, and then overlay our expertise in the last 20, to your point, Steve, of, all right, the data's been crunched, it's been analyzed. Now we're going to overlay our expertise on top of that to really point you in the right direction. That's really where those emerging technologies and our expertise meet in the middle, if you will. So it's a good harmony.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I want a big thank you to Cliff and Andy for their time and their insights and their experience. You can tell some more industry experts here on the StarkX Energy Edge podcast. It really sets the stage for conversations we're going to have more and more in the future. And of course, thank you to our listeners for tuning in and listening to our experts this time. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We have plenty more to come as we continue exploring how facilities remain resilient, efficient, and prepared for what's next. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening to the StarkX Energy Edge podcast, a production of StarkTech. If you're viewing this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or an idea for a future episode, email marketing@starktech.com. Follow us on social media, and we'll see you here next time on the StarkX Energy Edge podcast.